From the subway window, the city smears into a watercolor of steel and sunlight, and that's when you see them for the first time. A stranger's face, a half-smile framed by fogged glass, just long enough to plant a seed you pretend won't grow. You tell yourself it's a passing moment, but your brain has other plans. Psychologists call it the mere exposure effect. The more you encounter someone, even in flashes on your commute or in line at the coffee shop, the warmer you tend to feel toward them. Over the next few days, that face keeps slipping into your routine. The silver glint of their headphones on a different train car, the quick flicker of their reflection in a library window, the silhouette at the end of the hall near the student center. Each glance lingers half a second longer than the last, and your heartbeat skips like a record. It isn't just romance, it's chemistry running choreography. Dopamine stirs up anticipation, norepinephrine sharpens your attention, cortisol threads in a little anxiety. That's why you're restless, wide awake and underfed, your focus pulled like a tide toward the same shore. You don't tell anyone. You're not even sure you want to tell yourself. But your body's already whispering the story to your mind. You notice odd details and remember them without trying. Later, you'll find out this is also chemistry at work. Emotions heighten memory, and norepinephrine can make the little things stick. You can't recall what you had for lunch 2 days ago, but you can picture the chipped corner on their phone case, the way they nudge their sleeve up while reading the exact curve of a smile that seems both shy and sure. Sometimes you catch your own eyes in a window and notice your pupils are larger than usual. That's not a movie trope. Attraction can dilate pupils, and dilated pupils can, in turn, be read as more attractive. A loop, inside a loop, inside a loop. Proximity costs you nothing and gives you just enough. A study room you happen to pass more often, a coffee shop you start liking again, a path you walk that puts you in the same orbit. You tell yourself you're not doing it on purpose. Maybe you're not. Maybe your feet simply learned a new route while your mind was busy rationalizing. Either way, a soft familiarity begins to knit itself into place. Bench, hallway, glass door, eyes. Your brain likes maps. This is how it draws one of you and maybe them. The first conversation happens almost by accident. The subway jolts, and you both reach for the same pole, your hands close enough to feel the shared tremor of balance. You exchange the kind of laugh that's really an exhale in disguise. You make a quick joke about the transit gods being in a mood, and they smile with their whole face, like they've been waiting to agree. And suddenly, you can feel a simple truth clicking into place. People tend to like people who make them feel good. Reciprocity of liking is a real thing. You think absurdly about that experiment where pairs of strangers gazed into each other, eyes for 4 quiet minutes, and later reported a spike in closeness. You two weren't silent for longer than 4 seconds, but your mind's already tossing kindling onto the narrative. You catch yourself mirroring their gestures, the chameleon effect, psychologists call it. They adjust their backpack, you tug your cuff. They lean in a fraction, you do too. You can't say you changed your voice, not exactly, but you notice it warmed, and theirs softened. Some people lower their pitch when interested, others lift it. A whisper from evolution, sure, but not a rule. The conversation ends where it began. A bump, a laugh, a see you around. But the circuitry in your head hums a little louder. Later that week, you in the library pretending your notes are as interesting as you say they are when they sit at the table across from you. You keep your I'm focused face on, but your brain's running wave interference. On their notebook, you see a heading, Urban Sustainability, that overlaps with your class. You feel the kind of sparkle that self-expansion theory explains neatly. We are drawn to people around whom we feel ourselves expanding, becoming. You don't doodle their name in the margins. You were not in high school. But your mind opens a short film of future scenarios. 2 umbrellas become 1, a grocery aisle squabble over salsas, inside jokes about the weirdly hot radiator in your building. Fantasy does that. It arranges common objects into a scene you want to keep walking toward. But it's uncertainty that turns the volume up. Research shows not knowing whether someone likes you exaggerates your fixation. So you start looking for signals. Was that double glance a sign or a coincidence? Does the quick eyebrow lift mean interest, or did the fluorescent light just flicker? Every time you guess, your limbic system feeds the loop. Add social media to the mix and it's a variable reward slot machine. You tap their profile. Sometimes there's a new post, an indie playlist, a blurry skyline, their dog under a patch of sunlight. Sometimes there's nothing. Intermittent reinforcement is the strongest hook. When the universe replies unpredictably, your attention renews itself. You drop a neutral comment, "Great take in class today," and pretend not to care. When they heart it, your brain lights the sky. Be careful, though. The halo effect can make one great smile or clever caption glow onto traits you haven't actually seen yet. Clarity lives on the far side of that field. A few days later, at a campus event with bad lighting and too loud speakers, you spot them in red. Studies suggest the color can bump perceived attractiveness. You don't need a study to notice your breath change. You tell yourself not to stare. The spotlight effect says we overestimate how much people are looking at us. Honestly, most people are wondering if anyone noticed their own messy hair. You start a conversation that feels harmless. Class notes, professors who love tangents, the giant line at the free coffee table, and it flows the way a good river flows. Quick, then smooth, then quiet where you least expected it. You add a detail about how you miss the quiet after midnight, the way the city finally sleeps. They talk about how running clears their mind. You both reveal little pieces. Self-disclosure, when reciprocal and gradual, is a ladder to intimacy. You keep your compliments specific. You notice details in a way that makes the world feel better lined up. Not, "You're perfect." Specific compliments are more credible. They stick because they're evidence, not confetti. For a second, you think you see the green light. Then their phone rings and concern flashes over their face. The spell is suspended mid-sentence. You drink water and think about misattribution of arousal. The bridge study where people confused fear with attraction. Context messes with us. A crowded event, a racing heart, a bright color, no wonder it all feels like more than it is. But then again, sometimes more than it is exactly how feelings begin. Days stretch into something that looks like rhythm. Your crush becomes its own ecosystem. Messages tucked between study sessions, quick waves between stacks of books, a shared coffee that's more laughter than caffeine. You find yourself leaning into the pratfall effect. Perfect people can be intimidating. The right kind of little mistake can make you more likable. "Spilled an entire cold brew on my notes today," you text with a photo. They respond, "I used my hoodie sleeve as a napkin at 8 a.m. The secret that you like them makes everything feel brighter and sharper. Secrecy itself can amplify attraction, but be careful. Thought suppression has a rebound. The more you try not to think about them, the more your mind becomes a slideshow of their face. You notice your nervous system reacts more dramatically on days they reply late. Attachment styles open their own map here. If you tend toward anxious, uncertainty feels like a roller coaster you didn't sign up for. If they lean avoidant, too much closeness too fast might trigger retreat. Still, a rhythm forms, the exchange of playlists, a meme that somehow says, "I get your sense of humor," a small favor, "Could you send me your notes?" which sneaks in the Ben Franklin effect. We like people more after we do them a favor because we subconsciously reason ourselves into the kindness. One rainy afternoon, you end up under the same too-small umbrella. The air smells like petrichor. The sound of drops on nylon is a metronome. Scent memories are the most stubborn. Some research even suggests we're drawn to people with certain complementary immune system markers, MHC, a biological dance beneath words. They fold your damp cuff back and you look at each other, longer than usual. There's a bridge between you that didn't exist yesterday. Eye contact, sustained just past comfortable, can deepen a sense of closeness. That night, you feel a new word hum in the background: limerence. It's the brand of infatuation where longing and idealization braid together and tug you forward. You start to notice you're not just searching for them. You're searching for a version of yourself that appears in their presence. More curious, more alive. Self-expansion again. But another quiet truth arrives alongside it. We don't just want people for completeness. We want them for continuity, to thread our story with theirs in a way that feels like a life. Eventually, you decide to name the music in the room. You pick a place that feels like both of you, the bench outside the old library, the maple tree shading a cracked path, and you say, "I like you." Your voice is steady, which surprises you. Your heartbeat is a crowded freeway. They pause, then say gently, "I like you too. I'm just not ready for more." In 10 words, you get both clarity and ambiguity. Timing matters. Readiness matters. Attachment histories matter. So you both agree not to push. It sounds clean, and sometimes it will be. But much of crush energy runs on intermittent reinforcement. Warmth one day, distance the next, and your brain wants to sprint after the warmer days. You start adjusting expectations like you're lowering the volume on a radio. You remind yourself that values and shared rhythms predict longer-term harmony better than simple opposites attract fireworks. Real life isn't a tug-of-war between perfect complements. It's more like two songs learning to harmonize without drowning each other out. One night they tell you about their last breakup. For a while, the secrecy made everything sizzle. Private jokes, hidden exits, that electric feeling of having a world only you two knew. But eventually, secrecy turned to fog. Without clarity and safety, the burn turned to burnout. You hold that story like a temperature check. Yes, secrets can heighten a crush, but long-term connection prefers psychological safety, honor, steadiness, repair. You find a different metaphor for love that fits more than it dazzles. Not weather, but climate. Not thunderclaps, but seasons. You wonder if the climate between you is warming or if the forecast is simply complicated. Either way, a quieter maturity takes one step forward. It's okay if this year S-map doesn't include the neon arrows you thought you wanted. The road still leads somewhere like home, even if it loops. Then life shifts context like it always does. The semester ends. They land an internship across the country, thrilled and terrified in equal measure. You split a last coffee in a cafe that smells like cinnamon and old wood. Take a picture you won't post, and promise to keep in touch. Distance tests the proximity effect. The small daily sightings that fed your brain are about to vanish, and your mind will need a new routine to hold the story. At first, texts are steady. A photo of a desk with a plant, a weather complaint, a song that would sound better if you were hearing it together. Then the pace stretches. Hours become days. No one did anything wrong. Life is simply busier. Uncertainty sets up camp again. You go for a walk and breathe to account. You sit with a pen and write yourself a small manifesto. I can choose what to do with this energy. It can go into a relationship if one emerges, or it can go into growth if it doesn't. You write down the cognitive traps you know by heart now. The spotlight effect. No, the world isn't watching your story frame by frame. Most people are thinking about their grocery lists. The halo effect. Resist building a cathedral around one stained glass window. Then you outline a plan that is really a promise to yourself. Give your attention a place to land where it builds something. You pick up your guitar and let your fingertips grow calluses again. You set a goal to run a 5K without hating every minute. You join a design club where nobody knows you yet, and that anonymity feels like fresh air. As new, meaningful exposures arrive, the curve of your crush softens. Memory reconsolidation is real. Revisiting old scenes while adding new emotions can change the weight of the past. When they text about finding that old umbrella in the back of their closet, your heart still jumps, but it lands safely. You can feel two things: a fondness for what was possible and a steadiness about what is. You notice, too, that your self-worth has shifted away from their replies. It's not that you don't care. It's that caring is no longer a compulsion. It's a choice. There's a fact you learned the hard way. When self-expansion meets self-connection, the need for constant external affirmation softens. You can enjoy admiration without needing it. You can want someone without imagining they hold the key to your entire house. You begin to speak to yourself more kindly. You spot the comparison trap sooner. You can say "not now" to spiraling and mean it. You can set your phone down and actually go to sleep. Is the crush gone? Not exactly. It's just become part of the background music, a familiar melody that doesn't hijack every scene. Months later, you end up back at the cafe where you first really saw them. Maybe it's the same rectangle of winter light on the floor, the same barista who draws a heart in the foam, the same draft from the door that everyone pretends not to feel, but your pulse is different now, less cymbal crash, more drum beat. You're with a new friend, someone who felt casual until you started noticing the bright edges. You realize you have a handful of ordinary things in common that add up to a not-so-ordinary ease. A love for late afternoon sun, a short list of podcasts you both inexplicably still make time for, a preference for sincerity over cleverness. You don't overperform. You let the pratfall effect find you naturally when you spill a little coffee and say, "Oops," like a kid. They laugh like bell glass. And this time, you keep the facts in your back pocket. You don't narrate every twitch of your nervous system. You trust that mere exposure will do its quiet work if it's meant to. You trust that sharing little vulnerabilities will slowly braid something strong. You remember to watch for the halo effect and notice the lovable imperfections, not hide from them. You aren't in a rush to name anything. Love is less a lightning strike and more a climate shift. Subtle at first, then obvious when you look back and realize winter became spring while you were busy washing the dishes. On a sunny Sunday, your phone pings. It's the new friend. Want to hit the farmer's market? You say yes before your mind has time to script 3 possible futures. You tell them you're a sucker for used books and ugly heirloom tomatoes. They say they're hunting for a vinyl with crackle in all the right places. You walk among stalls of fresh flowers and disorganized peaches, your tote bag collecting small proofs of ordinary joy. You find yourself on a different side of the same street you used to hurry down, less longing, more noticing. The psychology facts you've been hoarding don't just explain you, they begin to empower you. You recognize a dopamine spike from a well-timed text and surf it instead of sinking under it. You turn uncertainty into curiosity, not, "Do they like me?" but "Who are they when they're tired, when they're proud, when they're bored?" You pair proximity with purpose. You don't just show up where they might be. You show up where you become who you re-proud to be, whether or not they re-there. Somewhere across the crowd you think you hear a laugh that belongs to your first crush. Maybe they're here with friends, or with someone who once looked at them from a train window and didn't look away. You decide to stay present with the person beside you. Attention is a vote. You cast it where you want your life to grow. You pick up a used book and find a note in the margin. We become what we pay attention to. You trace the sentence like a compass. You think of all the times you flooded your attention into a story that didn't have a next chapter yet. You think of how the simple act of noticing, city light, ripe strawberries, the way your friend pauses before choosing, makes your world feel bigger without needing to be louder. When your friend holds up a small brass compass from an antique stall and asks, "What do you think?" you smile and say, "Let's not overthink the direction today. Let's just walk." Maybe that's the most beautiful psychology fact of all. When you practice mindfulness, a crush doesn't consume you, it colors you. The science you carry, mere exposure, the halo effect, the pratfall effect, self-expansion, limerence, attachment patterns, the spotlight illusion, keeps playing like a quiet string section in the back of the room. But the melody out front belongs to your actual life, the conversations you risk, the boundaries you keep, the joy you allow on ordinary days. Every so often, your phone lights up. If it's the first crush, you answer warmly. If it's not, your day is still complete. Attraction is an invitation, not an instruction manual. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is accept the invitation without demanding it become the whole party. On your way home, the city is still a blur outside the bus window, but you recognize more of its shapes. The bakery that opens early, the laundromat that's always too warm, the corner where the light lasts longer. Somewhere out there, people are finding each other. On subways, at markets, on sidewalks, where someone once decided to step left instead of right. Maybe your next hello will happen tomorrow, or in a month, or next fall. You'll carry your facts like a well-folded map and trust yourself to look up from it when the scenery is better than the directions. And when it is, you'll know how to breathe, how to speak, how to listen, how to laugh at your own coffee spill, how to choose which story to feed with your attention. You'll know that a spark is a spark and a season is a season, and both can be wonderful if you let them be what they actually are. You'll get off at your stop, step into a light that's a little kinder than it was, and walk toward a future that doesn't need certainty to feel real. Less spike, more song. A rhythm you can live inside. A life you recognize as your own.